Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today, this was breaking yesterday, of course, but I wanted to cover it today, get all the information that I could compile and bring it to you guys. So, from ABC News, Trump election case is tossed after special counsel Jack Smith requests dismissal citing categorical DOJ policy. Fascinating, is it not? Of course, as we've talked about this for the last several years, that the Establishment Uni-party worked in a coordinated effort to ensure that these particular trials would make Donald Trump look as bad as possible and to convince as many people as possible not to vote for Donald Trump. And that's what it was. It was all contrived. It was lawfare. The judge overseeing Donald Trump's election interference case dismissed the case Monday after special counsel Jack Smith asked the judge to toss the case due to a long-standing Justice Department policy that bars the prosecution of a sitting president. So now, of course, the Trump detractors and the left and the Democrats and the Establishment Uni-party, the deep state, they're all upset about this, suggesting that it wasn't about the merits, it wasn't a lack of evidence, it was absurd, it was contrived. As you see here, Smith earlier Monday filed a motion to dismiss the case, as well as the appeal of Trump's classified documents case, ahead of Trump's impending inauguration, due to the DOJ's presidential immunity policy, and not because the charges lacked merit. That's absolutely absurd. And of course, here you can hear ABC trying to they're obviously damper, right? They're just devastated that this isn't going to happen.
This is an ABC News special report.
Good afternoon. I'm Diane Macedo. We're coming on the air because ABC News has learned special counsel Jack Smith is officially moving to drop the January 6th election interference case against President-elect Trump. He's also expected to move to dismiss the classified documents case against Trump, possibly as early as today. Smith charged Trump last year with plotting to overturn the 2020 election and illegally storing classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. But the Department of Justice had signaled it will not prosecute a sitting president, and Jack Smith has said he plans to step down as special counsel before Trump takes office. During the campaign, Trump also said he would fire Smith and his entire team upon returning to the White House. Let's get right to ABC senior reporter Catherine Falders. Catherine.
So they go into this with Catherine, and they talk about the merits of the case and this, that, and the other, and how Donald Trump was able to manage his way into the presidency once again. As though it's so funny, as though President Trump running for president was some sort of maneuver on his part to get out of this contrived lawfare. It's extraordinary the way this is being interpreted. And one of my classmates on my Facebook yesterday was trying to tell me that Trump didn't have a mandate, that because of the margin of the popular vote, that he didn't really win the popular vote. I think he was trying to tell me that he was saying that the margin was close. But it's extraordinary how these people are just diving into their copamine to try to deal with all this, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Donald Trump reacts to Jack Smith asking to dismiss his case, and this was Donald Trump reacting to it. So Donald Trump reacted Monday to the news that special counsel Jack Smith asked a federal judge to dismiss his election subversion case against the president-elect. On his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump posted in part, "The cases, like all the other cases I have been forced to go through, are empty and lawless and should never have been brought. Over $100 million of taxpayer dollars has been wasted in the Democrat Party's fight against their political opponent, me." I like how he does that. "Nothing like this has ever happened in our country before, and it hasn't." You look through the annals of history, and you just aren't going to find the level of persecution that Donald Trump has gone through. Now, you could maybe go back in recent time to say like Watergate, when Nixon stepped down and these sorts of things, or maybe even the impeachment of Bill Clinton. But these do not compare anything like what they have done to Donald Trump. 2 impeachments, 3 different trials. Then, of course, you had the trial here in Atlanta. Then the hush money trial, the 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐳𝐨𝐧 trial, the alleged fraud money trial, the documents case, and then Jack Smith saying that Trump was trying to overturn the election. And then you have January 6th. I mean, these people were just coming out of the woodwork, out of the cracks, out of the shadows, anywhere, in any way they could to go after Donald Trump. But I am grateful to you guys, so make sure you hit that like button right now and subscribe if you haven't already, because you saw through it and you voted, hopefully most of you, voted for Donald Trump because you understood the nonsense that these people were doing. You could see that it was political persecution, and it was absolutely absurd. Jack Smith spent over $50 million prosecuting Trump before cases collapsed, and it's extraordinary. Jack Smith's office has spent at least $50 million in its unsuccessful persecution of Donald Trump, according to Newsweek calculations. Now, you see how Newsweek's writing it, at least, and I have to agree with them. Newsweek has repeatedly sought further details of spending in Smith's office through a Freedom of Information request and through communications with the federal government Freedom Information Ombudsman. Okay, and it's just amazing. This should be marked, but this is extraordinary.
On December 2nd to that end. Now, Mark Levin made this point to me, and I think it's an important one. Bragg could have moved to dismiss this case. The judge could have dismissed this case. Now the president's lawyers have to effectively ask to dismiss. This case is dead, waiting for dismissal. So what is Merchan waiting for?
Well, that's a great point. And while today is certainly a positive development for the Trump team, we need to continue to exercise caution in how we approach what Judge Merchan is going to do once these arguments are in before him. And, Kayleigh, we already know what both sides are arguing. Donald Trump is arguing it should be thrown out for a number of reasons. The SCOTUS immunity case, the fact that Donald Trump became president, which raises all kinds of constitutional questions, the fact that the Department of Justice has a policy that you can't indict, prosecute a sitting president, and that in the spirit of that policy, the state of New York should take the same approach. And Alvin Bragg's office has already laid out their argument. They said completely openly last week in a letter that they submitted to the court that they plan to oppose Trump's request to throw out the case. And the reason I think we need to exercise caution is because at every step of the way, Judge Merchan has ruled against Donald Trump in one way or the other. Now, of course, legally and politically, he should throw out the case. It's a loser for so many reasons. And both Alvin Bragg's office and I would say Judge Merchan have manipulated the law along the way in order to get the result that they wanted. But we don't know what's going to happen. And in fact, if he were still to rule against Donald Trump and deny this motion to dismiss, you could still see a sentencing date set before Inauguration Day. It would be foolish, but my only point is, let's wait and see what happens here.
That's wild. A sentencing before Inauguration Day. At that point, I would think we would get some sort of Supreme Court intervention. But, Carrie, you talk about the reasons this should be dismissed. I want to pull up the New York Times. We have something called prosecutorial discretion in this country. Prosecutors sit down. Would this case, similarly situated, have been brought, and therefore should I bring it? Well, let's bring in no friend of Donald Trump. That's the New York Times, the esteemed gray lady, and here's what they found. A New York Times review and interviews with election law experts strongly suggest that New York State prosecutors have never before filed an election law case involving a federal campaign. Bringing an untested case against anyone, let alone a former president of the United States, now president-elect, carries the risk that a court could throw out or narrow the case. The case was brought by the prosecutor. The judge did not grant the motion to dismiss. And now Merchan sitting by after an election of the American people. Why have the safeguards failed Donald Trump from day one in Bragg's office?
Because both Bragg and Judge Merchan are operating completely as political animals. It's really that simple. The New York legal system at this point is a facade for a political operation when it comes to Donald Trump. And even, and then this is all against the backdrop of what's happening with Daniel Penny. The priorities of those running law enforcement in New York City and the state overall are just, they're upside down. And by the way, Kayleigh.
So it's obvious, is it not? And you know, I am not a legal expert. I did work in law for a period of time, but I am not a legal expert. But I do understand when I was working for the state and working for my friend's law firm and other law firms, there is a process and there is a procedure. And Judge Merchan and Judge Engoron went outside those boundaries, went into novel areas of law. Judge Merchan was going to allow jurors individual verdicts. He was going to allow them to come up with individual verdicts. That is unheard of. That is not the way our laws are supposed to work. I just went to jury duty this year back in March. And these things are explained to you, you know. The jury has to be unanimous. It's absolutely extraordinary. And on top of that, Manhattan's top federal prosecutor resigns to make way for Trump's replacement. So this was a guy that was going after Eric Adams. And, of course, Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, was talking about immigration. And because he didn't stay with the narrative, because he went outside the narrative and was complaining about immigration in New York, they went after him. So the Democrats aren't afraid to go after their own kind because they move away from the narrative. So the resignation announced by Damon Williams, who said his last day as U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York will be December the 13th, prompted swift celebration from those in Adams' camp. So obviously the Democrats are excited that he's leaving because he was the one that was prosecuting. So it's absolutely amazing. But she outlined it perfectly here in this Fox News report that, the whole thing was contrived from the beginning. And we talked about that here. We gave example after example after example. And we also explained that at one time, at some point, Trump will probably eventually win, and they will have to dismiss all these cases, and they'll all be thrown out because the entire exercise of it all was simply to get as many people as possible, to convince as many people as possible not to vote for Donald Trump. It's absolutely extraordinary, is it not, where we are and where we have become now. And I'm grateful to all of you guys for your continued support. All you guys across New Tech, that's BitChute, Rumble, and Odyssey, for this journey that we've had in 2024. So thank you so much for your guys' support. Your likes, your shares, and your comments are greatly appreciated. And, of course, below this video, you can find the various social media links that I belong to. So follow me there on social media. And, of course, if you are part of Amazon Prime or order frequently from Amazon, I have my affiliate links down below. And if you're interested in a VPN, I have that as well. I do enjoy using TrustZone as my VPN. But, guys, thank you so very much for all that you do for the channel. And appearing there on the screen, if you're watching on YouTube, that would be the channel icon. You guys can click on that. And from there, you can select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I will see all you guys in the next video.